एका माई जुगत व्याई तिन चेले परवान इक संसारी इक भंडारी इक लाई दी बाण. According to ancient Hindu myths, Maya, worldly illusion, mysteriously conceived and produced three sons. One of them became the creator, God Brahma, one the provider, God Vishnu, and another one became destroyer, the God Shiva. जिव तिस पावै तिवै चलावै जिव होवै फुरमान ओ वेखै ओना नदर नावै बहुता एहि विडार. But the truth is that Vaheguru, the one divine God himself, is directing the universe as he pleases, and everything happens as he commands. Vaheguru can see these humans and human gods, but he himself is invisible to them. What a great wonder! Ades Tisai Ades, Ad Anil, Anad Anahat, Jug Jug Eko Vays. Let us salute the Almighty God who is ever existent, unaffected by worldly evils, without beginning, is without end, and is unchanging through the ages. आसन लोहे लोहे भंडार जो किछ पाया सोए कावार. He is present in the whole universe, and the universe is full of His bounties. Whatever He has put in the universe, He has put them once for all. कर कर वेखै सिरजनहार नानक सच्चे की साची कार. Ades Tisai Ades Ad Anil Anad Anahat Jug Jug Eko Vays. He creates and then looks after his creation. Nanak says he is flawless, and his system of taking care of everybody is also flawless. Let us salute the Almighty God who is ever existent, unaffected by worldly evils, without beginning, without end, and unchanging through the ages. एक दूजे पो लाख हो है लाख हो वह लाख वीस लाख लाख गेड़ा आखियाँ एक नाम जगदीश. If one tongue becomes thousands and even 20 times more, with each tongue in cycles be repeated God's name thousands of times, implies totally immersing in God's name in meditation. Et rah pat pavriya chadiya hoye ikis. This kind of continuous worship of God is a ladder that leads towards God, and by ascending on these steps, a person becomes one with God. Sunagala akas ki kita airis nanak nadri paye kudi kudaithis. Those who just try to imitate by mechanically repeating God's name without true love and devotion are like lowly worm trying to reach the skies. Nanak says union with God can only be obtained by His grace. Those who claim otherwise are liars, boasting to enhance their own ego. आखण जोर चुपहने जोर जोर न मंगण देण ना जोर. We have neither the power to speak nor be silent. We have neither the power to ask nor to give. We cannot demand anything. We get what is destined for us. Spirit of giving also comes by His blessing. जोर ना जीवन मरण नह जोर जोर ना राज माल मन सोर. We have neither the power to live nor to die. We have no power to control our mind from thoughts of greed and ego that come from wealth and power. जोर न सुरती ज्ञान विचार, जोर न जुगती छुटै संसार। जिस हथ जोर कर वेखै सोए, नानक उत्तम नीच ना कोय। We have no power to achieve spiritual awakening, knowledge, or thinking by our own efforts. We have no power to escape from worldly temptations using certain techniques. He, Wahikuru, who has all the power in his hands, takes care of his creation. Nanak says, nobody is superior or inferior. राति रुति तिथि वार, पवन पानी agni patal. Wahikuru created nights, days, months and seasons. He also created wind, water, fire and the lower regions of the universe. This which tarti thap rakhi tarmsal, this which jiye jugat ke rang, तिनके नाम अनेक अनंत. In the midst of that, he established the earth as a place for humans to practice spiritual advancement by righteous action. In that earth, he created living beings of many types and species whose names are varied and endless. Karmi karmi hoy vichar, sacha aap sacha darbar. In Vahikuru's court, everyone is judged according to their deeds. There is no flaw in that judgment because he is flawless and his system of justice is flawless. Tithai sohan panch parwan, nadri karma pavai nisan. There, in God's court, the chosen ones who succeed in achieving spiritual advancement are accepted and honored, and their glowing faces bear the mark of His grace. Kach pakai uthe pae, Nanak gaya jape jai. The success and failure in achieving the goal of spiritual advancement is judged in God's court. Nanak says, this who succeeded and who failed becomes known after departing from this world. Tarm khand ka eho tarm, Gyan khand ka akho karm. This, as described in previous pori, is the moral duty of a person in Dharam Khand. Now I am describing the working of the Gyan Khand, the stage of divine knowledge or enlightenment. Kete pavan pani besantar, kete kanu mahes. In this stage of spiritual ascent, a person realizes that in God's creation there are many forms of air, water, fire, and many Krishnas and Sivas. Kete barme karat kadiye, roop rang ke ves. There are many Brahmas engaged in creating beings of various forms and colors. Ketya karam bhumi mer kete, kete tu upades. There are many earths where people do their duty. There are many mountains on those earths, and there are many saints like Dhruv, and there are many teachings. Kete Indra Chanda Sur Kete, Kete Mandal Des. There are many Indras, the gods' power to sustain life. There are many moons, many suns, and many planetary systems. Kete Siddha Buddhanath Kete, Kete Devi Vays. There are many saints with spiritual powers, many wise people, many yogis, and many goddesses. Kete Dev Danav Mun Kete, Kete Ratan Samunda. There are many pious people and wicked people, many saints under vow of self-imposed silence, and many oceans with precious jewels. Ketya khani, ketya bani, kete paat narind, ketya surti sevak kete, nanak ant na ant. There are many sources of life, many forms of speech, many kings and kings of kings. There are many devotees concentrating in meditations. Nanak says that in this stage of spiritual development, a person realizes that there is no end to God's creation. ज्ञान खंड में ज्ञान परचंड तिथय नाद विनोद कौड नंद. In this stage of knowledge, the effect of divine knowledge becomes most powerful. In this domain, one enjoys the taste of all musical sound currents, naad and other wonders. Sarm khand ki bani roop, tithai karat kadiyai bahut anoop. The domain of effort is full of beauties. By making efforts every day, the mind development towards perfection begins. The mind, in the process of making new kind of efforts, develops into a new splendor. ताकिया गला कथिया ना जाहे जेको कहे पीछे पछताए. It is not possible to describe anything about the state of this domain. The one who does so, he repents afterwards as he cannot express fully. Tithai kadiyai surat mat man bodh, tithai kadiyai sura siddha ki sudh. Under this domain, one's conscience, intellect, mind and thinking are molded and uplifted. Vision of gods and mystics is created. Karam khand ki bani jor, tithai hor na koi hor. In this stage, a person is blessed with Vahiguru's grace and becomes spiritually very powerful. He becomes immune to all worldly evils that exist in the world. There, in that stage, nobody else can reach. Only those who become worthy of Vahiguru's grace can reach this stage. तिथय जोध महाबल सूर तिन में राम रह्या परपुर. Those who reach this stage are the truly brave and the real warriors. Those spiritual warriors are filled with God's grace. They remain totally absorbed in God's praises. तिथय सीतो सीता महिमा माहे ताके रूप ना कथने जाहे. They are fully sewn in God's admiration. Their beauty cannot be narrated. ना उमर है ना ठागे जाहे जिनके राम वसै मन माहे. They neither die nor get cheated. They are freed from the cycle of birth and death, and the worldly evils cannot overpower them, in whose heart God's name resides. Tithai pagat vasai ke lo, karhe anand sacha man soy. Vahiguru's devotees from many worlds ascend to this stage where they experience the eternal joy, because Vahiguru, who is ever blissful, is always in their hearts. Sach khand vasai nirankar, kar karo vekhe nadar nihal. In the realm of truth, stage of union with God, the formless God resides in the devotee's heart. In this stage, the merciful God bestows His blissful grace on His devotees. Tithai khand mandal var pand, jeko kathai ta ant na ant. In this stage, a person is enlightened with the knowledge of the other worlds and the whole universes. If someone tries to describe them, he will realize that there is no end to God's creation. तिथै लो लो आकार जिव जिव हुक्म तिवै तिव कार. In this stage, a person realizes that there are many worlds and many forms of creation. As Vaheguru commands, so they function. The whole universe is functioning under Vaheguru's commands. Vikhe vikse kar vichar, Nanak kathna karda sar. In this stage, a person realizes that the merciful God takes care of everyone and delights in thinking about His creation. Nanak says it is impossible to describe this stage. Describing it is as difficult as chewing iron. It cannot be described, it can only be experienced. Jat pahara tiraj sunyar, ehran mat ved hathyar. Let self-discipline be your shop, tolerance your goldsmith. Let your mind be the anvil, knowledge your hammer. Awaken your mind by hitting it with the spiritual knowledge. Pao khala agan tap tao, Pandao pao amrit tit tao. Let God's fear be your bellows, disciplined hard work your fire and heat. With God's fear in heart, work hard with discipline to achieve spirituality. Let God's love be your crucible. Melt God's name like gold in the crucible. With God's love in heart, immerse yourself in His name with love and devotion. Kadiye sabad sachi taksao, jinko nadar karam tinkar, Nanak nadri nadar nihao. This is the true mint, where God's name is minted. This deed is accomplished by only those who are blessed by His divine grace. Nanak says, by His merciful grace, they receive the eternal bliss and become one with God. Slok Pavan Guru Pani Pita Mata Tarat Mahat Divas Rat Doi Dai Daya Khilai Sagal Jagat. Air is the Guru, water is the Father, and earth is the Great Mother. Days and nights are like male and female nurses, in whose lap the whole world is playing. Changiyayan, Buriyayan, Vache Tarm Hadur, Karmi Apo Apni, Ke Nede, Ke Dur. Our good and bad deeds are being watched by the Divine Judge. According to our deeds, some of us will get closer to God and some will stray away from Him. Jinni naam tyaya gai masakat kaal, Nanak te mukh jle keti chutti naal. Those who meditate on His name depart from this world achieving success for their hard work. Nanak says their faces are radiant with success and many get liberated along with them.